Morning. Welcome everyone to the January 29th meeting of the IPython dev team. This is one of our kind of extra supplementary ones. I wasn't able to make the previous one, and we're trying to kind of put the last touches on the 3.0 beta. And Adrian Rosebrock from PyImageSearch is here for a bit. So I don't know. Let's hop on the agenda. Adrian, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. So for just a quick overview, if you guys aren't familiar, I launched a Kickstarter to fund this project I'm working on related to computer vision. And
Mhm,
basically, I want to be able to teach people computer vision really easily. And one of the
mhm,
best ways to do that is with IPython notebooks, especially if you can deliver it to the user pre-configured with all the necessary libraries and packages pre-installed.
mhm.
So I'm trying to create this community and this development environment where people can hop in and immediately pick up the IPython notebook and work through the examples. Um, the biggest issue I've had is I've been trying to find the correct solution to go about doing this. I've talked to a bunch of people. I've talked to let's see, the Continuum team over at Wakari. They were, to put it nicely, rude, extremely rude actually. So I will not be going that route. I've looked at Terminal.com,
Hey, Brian.
which seems pretty cool. And I've also kind of looked at roll your own solutions where I'm just kind of gluing all this type of stuff together and hosting it on my own servers. So in a way, I have no idea what the best route to do this is, and to do it in a cost-effective manner as well. Um, so if anybody has any suggestions or any tips for me to look into, that would be extremely valuable.
Yeah, I mean, the as you, I don't know kind of how much you know about um, kind of our vision for these things, but basically we've sort of tried to stay closer to the line of saying that the open source project builds and develops the code itself,
Mhm.
and hosts a minimal amount of services. And if it weren't for Kyle, I mean, our that definition of minimal is actually a bit larger than appears reasonable. But that's only because Kyle is here and because Rackspace is effectively supporting the project. If we didn't have the support of Rackspace and the bandwidth and the expertise of Kyle, we'd be doing a lot less in terms of hosting services, because hosting services really requires
Yep.
dedicated time and resources that we as an open source project, which is funded on a combination of research, academic research funding, and community contributions, just people, I mean, the usual open source thing, people volunteering their time, we just don't have the resources for that. Everyone who is hosting various flavors of notebooks online as a service, whether it's Wakari or Terminal.com or GraphLab or SageMath Cloud, those are people who are effectively building commercial enterprises. It's time consuming, it's resource intensive, compute doesn't scale easily. Basically, every new user requires a CPU allocated to them. Um, and so I mean, we wish everyone who is doing that the very best. We are a neutral party in that space. Basically, anyone is welcome to use the code that comes out of this project as a BSD license code. We like and we encourage the third parties who use that to contribute back to the project, to engage with us. Rackspace has been, I mean, as we said before, a wonderful partner in that regard. Others just use the code, and that's fine. It's BSD. It's BSD. Git clone and go ahead and use it. Um, but we probably, obviously, won't be able to offer much in the way of direct support
Right.
or anything in that regard, because what you're talking about is basically scaling a service out to the open internet. That's its own engineering problem,
Yeah.
and that's not a problem for which we have any kind of resources right now.
Okay.
Well, I think so. So my take on that, of course, will be a little different since I am the one coming from Rackspace. But at least for the project, um, I wanted to talk about technical solutions you could try to use, and kind of where they are and the direction, and then understand your own timeline with the Kickstarter for what you expect.
Mhm.
Um, because people right now are already integrating with the multi-user setup that is Jupyter Hub, where you have authenticated users, like they can log in using GitHub, using OAuth, It could be a different like permissions model, and then people are actually putting the notebooks in different ways. Like they have Quantopian has their content store that's actually over Postgres, right? And so those are some of the tools that you can build with if you're going to go that route. If you want authenticated users, and at least when I looked at your layout, it looked like you wanted to build something kind of on top of the notebook itself, so that you can integrate the videos and community and everything else.
Yep. Exactly.
Right, so that's one option, and then and I mean, this is kind of self-deprecating here, but one kind of crappy option is to use like temp and B, and you have the notebooks available, but then people aren't really saving their work anywhere unless it's hooked up to Google Drive or something else. Like it's totally ephemeral. Like they get access to compute resources for as long as they're logged into the page, and then it's torn down as soon as they leave.
Okay.
Not as soon as, but within like 10 minutes. Depending on what you configure it with. And even on the hosted version that we have right now, like we can easily add more notebooks from someone, but then it's not really like their portal for everything. So like if you add extra notebooks right now to like our demo, let's say that it was all on one shared demo, because largely speaking, like our resources for the most part stay fairly stagnant, and then all of a sudden at a meetup, 60 people will use it, and I'll go, gosh, I wish I would have put it back to thousands of users.
Mm-hmm.
And like we can handle a good bit of traffic there, and we can scale it out. But I guess that depends on how big it is. But then you're also kind of stuck with you're just a folder within an overall grouping of content.
Right.
Yeah, and then your other options. So you talked about Wakari, and one that you should probably look into is Sage Math Cloud.
Yeah, I've looked at them. I know they just recently open sourced their project, so that's available, which is good. Although just scanning through the amount of services you have to provide just to run Sage Math Cloud is incredible. I mean, you got Cassandra on top of.
Oh, I was thinking more in terms of like on the side of letting them run it, but providing the content.
Okay.
I know there are classes that use Sage Math Cloud directly.
Okay.
That gets you closer to just worrying about the content and less worrying about the operations and the other pieces, but you're going to lose a lot more flexibility there.
Okay.
The maximum flexibility, but then a whole bunch more work is you use the components that we're currently building with Jupyter Hub and Temp and B. And then the lesser form is you just contribute notebooks to something like Temp and B, where you have an easy voice in changing. I guess I should say easier voice in changing it than you would if it was just in Sage Math Cloud.
Right.
But that being said, like William Stein is phenomenal in responding to stuff. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check out those options for sure. I guess from my perspective, I have to find that good balance between customization and then not having to worry all the time about, is it functioning properly? Do I have to log in and restart the server and all that other type of stuff? So that's trying to find that happy balance has not been easy for me so far.
Yeah, and that's precisely why we tend to be a little bit hands off with this, because we sort of don't have the DevOps bandwidth for that full-time hour. Sort of the things that fund our work is really the kind of the R&D of the new machinery and maintaining the existing code base in good health.
Okay.
And that the moment you have a few thousand users screaming at you because the servers went down, you pretty much have to drop everything and do that. And that effectively, if you reach that threshold, you're effectively talking about dedicated staff.
Yep. Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
So, but at the same time, we hope to see projects like yours in some capacity succeed. It's not exactly clear yet which of all of the things we've mentioned, Wakari, Sage Math Cloud, Quantopian, etc. It's not clear if one or more of those models are going to succeed. We hope many of them do. We would be thrilled to see more players adopt these tools and build an ecosystem. And we're happy to help with kind of, I don't know, engagement and feedback and to hear what you're doing.
Okay.
So keep us posted. And I don't know if you have any other specific questions or if Anybody else has kind of ideas on this front?
That's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a matter of how much, in terms of balancing the Wakari or Sage MatCloud or what have you versus rolling your own Jupyter Hub and or TempNB and or custom system. It's all going to be about the trade-offs of how much money you're willing to spend versus how much time are you willing to spend in order to not spend something.
Yeah.
How many people do you expect to have?
Less than 200.
Yeah.
And not all of them one line at once.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Jess is doing a class of about 200 using Jupyter Hub at the moment, and I think she has like 6 servers or something which she can load balance the people onto.
Okay.
Yeah, and it depends on how much. The most concurrent users she's had so far. This service has only been up for 6 days. The class just started. The most concurrent users she's had is about 30.
Yeah.
Min and Thomas, do you guys know, are those campus-hosted servers?
They're Rackspace. They're on Rackspace.
Rackspace.
They're on Rackspace. Okay, right.
Well, it's a relatively expensive deployment.
Yes. Yes, it is a Rackspace sponsored.
Probably a few $100 a month or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually too bad that Jess is not online. Jess's stuff is completely bleeding edge, and that she's also using Docker Swarm for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Already.
It's the multi-Docker host setup. It's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, but so far it's gone okay. We're learning stuff in Jupyter Hub from it. It's good.
Jess is awesome.
Spike up to 60 users real? Or?
That spike up to so I'm looking at a graph of the currently active users from Jess's class, and there's a spike when during class she told her students, you should log in and make sure it works. So that's what the spike is on our graph.
Yeah, so it can handle a lot more concurrent users, and we built it with the perspective that all the students are going to log on at 11:30 p.m. at night when the assignment's due at 11:59.
Yep.
We could actually scale this way down, but we built it for minimal ops hassle, which is just
the academic equivalent of the night before Christmas for Amazon shopping.
Yeah, so there hasn't been a big problem set due yet, so we'll see how it handles the real spike in load. But
yeah, and then the nature demo, so we've handled, and this was like early on, we handled up to 512 concurrent users, and then when we kind of split that up, we had some issues, but then it got back up over that number at some point, and we were nearing 1,000 concurrent users. So.
Adrian, do you expect your users to be registered and to save their work, or just to basically do completely ephemeral, run it and throw it away kind of thing?
For me, I think it could go either way. Personally, I would prefer the run it and throw it away type of thing, but I have a feeling once the users get in there, they're going to want to save their work.
Yeah, well, you could, with something like TempNB, you can add something to that. I mean, there's like a download as button in the notebook to save it locally, but you could add stuff to TempNB to kind of export this notebook to your blob storage or something.
Okay.
And still use the ephemeral deployment stuff that TempNB does. So you could, if it's mostly ephemeral, you could probably use a custom deployment of TempNB or something.
Okay.
But I think it's still a bit tricky, because if you want users to be able to save something and bring it back, then they presumably have to have some kind of user account to associate that with.
Well, they're definitely going to be authenticated users logging in. That's going to be taken care of. They're not going to have access to the IPython notebooks without being logged in.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something that TempNB doesn't take care of right now. That since it's all anonymous ephemeral
Gotcha.
stuff, but it should be. There's the difference between because of the relative amount of state in TempNB and Jupyter Hub. It's a lot easier to scale TempNB to many users because there isn't like this user's logged in, they're here. When they come back, I should send them back to the same place.
Okay.
And that's the kind of stuff that Jupyter Hub does. Is a user is a thing. When they log in, they have one server. They hit it. Whenever they come back, they go there, and then TempNB is all anonymous. You show up. I'm going to give you some resources. As soon as I notice you're gone, I'm going to take them back.
Okay.
And you can you could mix and match some of those approaches.
Adrian, where are you located geographically?
I'm in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think.
All right. Well, Adrian, anything else on this one? Otherwise, we'll kind of move on to 3.0 matters.
Nope. I'm good.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys so much.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Great.
All right, folks. What do we have on 3.0?
Not a lot.
So was there? I ran some of my notebooks yesterday, my talk notebooks, and the image RGB sliders, the interact widget that we have for that, doesn't work anymore, and I'm trying to understand and think through why that would not be the case. And
Brian, are you talking? Is that the little coffee cup scikit image one, or
really? Yeah,
that's a really straightforward one.
And it used to, for a while, it was raising a warning the first time you ran it, but it was still working fine. Now it raises the warning the first time. There's a traceback always, and it never works.
I remember there being a warning depending on how you built scikit image or something.
Yes, but I did. So normally, what I've found in the past is that if you install Pillow, all those problems go away. And that's no longer the case. But here's one question: Does the logic in the display formatters now show the traceback rather than just the warning?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's part of what I'm seeing then, because now it used to be.
So a custom formatter, which that was largely an aesthetic change. That if a formatter, which is ostensibly code that the user is asking to run, fails, you see the traceback of it as if it's an actual error.
And would that prevent the output from ever triggering?
No. No, it basically just replaces the warning with a traceback.
Because I was still. I mean, this.
I'm running it right now. Let me see.
I mean, it's just one of the demos I think we should make sure works. And it may be that.
Brian, for what it's worth, for once, I'm not the one seeing the problem.
Since you're not here very often, we should add some if user equals LSMVG things.
Yeah, I know.
So it works perfectly here. No warnings, no messages, nothing. So for what it's worth, and I'm running git master from last night.
How do you have pill installed?
Let's see.
Is it pill or pill version?
Image. So I have the default package, the system package on Ubuntu 14.10, which is installed as pill compat, and I don't know.
Oh, that sounds like Pillow then.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that is pill or pillow. Probably pillow. I can look up
Okay.
I can look up what Ubuntu installs, but I don't have a hand installation of Pillow. I have whatever Ubuntu ships.
Okay. Yeah. Let me. I mean, I'll track this down, but.
But the point though is it sounds like it's a problem with some bizarre effect with Pill and Pillow and how we're handling maybe warnings or tracebacks rather than a problem with the widgets themselves, right? I mean, I'm not saying we don't need to look into it, but I kind of freaked out. I freaked out when I thought, oh wait a minute, what's special about that widget that may be different when it's basically just an
Yeah, it's probably that the display call isn't working properly, and it might be it might be a scikit image version thing that we're using scikit image wrong or something like that, or it's linked against not properly linked against libjpeg or something weird that isn't a real issue. But
okay,
yeah,
I'll look into it.
Because I remember now that you're talking about it, I remember I have been in a situation where that demo doesn't work, and I had to reach in and fiddle with things in scikit image. I don't remember what it was. I think it was like a weird linking thing that I didn't expect to affect anyone else.
I also have, Brian, I also have scikit image, just so you know, 0.10.1, which is also the system default one. So I don't know if you have either a newer or an older version, but who knows?
Yeah. Okay, I'll muck around with that.
Okay. What else do we? Any other? Brian and I are kind of in the middle of a very interesting nightmare with our university administrations about the grant. So I'd like to run through this quickly so that him and I can go back to wanting to put a bullet through our heads.
I don't think the one thing I think we wanted to get Brian's okay on is the link and delink. Name.
Oh, I said yes right before the meeting.
Oh, okay, yeah. Everything else is little things that we're fiddling with that I think we can handle.
There's a couple of things tagged design review that Brian is looking at, I think.
Oh, the running indication?
Yeah, and if you refresh that page, there's a couple more that I've just milestoned.
Okay.
Yeah, well, actually, we could go over that real quick with Fernando here. So, Fernando, the idea is the dashboard is still a little bit hard to track horizontally from the name of the notebook all the way over to the running green indicator.
Yes.
And so there's two design ideas being played with. One is to turn the notebook icon on the left green, and the other is to use zebra stripes on that table.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to actually try live and see what I think, but
can somebody point me to the number of the PR?
That one you're talking about is 7616.
7616. Okay. Yeah. Well, people seem to like this. People seem to like the stripes. I definitely think the icon, the greening of the icon should be there, regardless, because I think it helps. And once you get used to it, you can just run through on the left. I guess we'll have to create view.
Yeah.
I confess I'm not actually convinced by the stripes. It looks, I don't know, with the combination of different types of things in the lists and the striping.
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah.
My finger on it, but it looks untidy somehow.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on the stripes either. I think I would go with that little green icon, and once you get used to it, once you sort of start getting used to the fact that those two green indicators match, you probably will start just looking on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, in many cases, there's been a movement away from striping tables like this, and I think in this case, it makes the page really
garish.
Yeah.
It's a little, and it's a big page. It's a big page, and having stripes everywhere on it, I'm -1 on the stripes. So
yeah, well, I think one of the problems that the stripes solve is tracking from the left to the right, that there's information
Yes.
on the right.
Yes.
We could limit the max width of tab because we don't have that much information in it, so that it can't, the right side can't get that far away from the left side.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean,
I do that already.
so actually, is it possible for, well, I guess the way that like GitHub and Google Drive handle this is that they have unique content in the middle of each row that guides the eye over.
It's not an empty space.
It's not an empty space. And I could imagine that eventually we would have additional, like you could have text that says, updated 5 minutes ago, or other things like that. I think the green, the situation was much worse when we actually had action buttons on the right, because then you had to look at the notebook and track it all the way over to make sure you hit the right delete button.
Yeah.
Essentially now the only information that's on the right is the running text, and the green icon completely and utterly solves that problem.
Yeah, and the running text sort of tells you what the green icon is.
Yeah, so I would be fine just adding green icon and nothing else.
My vote for now is to do that. Make the simplest modification that helps us solve the problem.
Yeah. Can I ask a general question? I'm sure we'll be iterating on design-related things constantly. Aesthetic things like this can. Am I right in assuming that they would not block things like cutting a beta? Because I think we're from a functional standpoint, I think we can cut a beta tomorrow, and I'll try to focus on what's new docs and things so that people can have something to look at. But and I'll assume that there will still be design and aesthetic things to work on.
This is absolutely a minor design issue that will not block the beta.
Perfect.
Yeah, I would put this in the category of documentation tweaks.
Yeah, or a minor design bug or something.
Yeah. Okay. Just clear. Yeah, sounds good.
Anything else? 7610? 7610.
I just added that.
Okay.
If you want to go, that's okay. I'm tempted to ask about it.
What is it? 7610.
So this is making the target blank bit configurable?
So this would cause pages, notebooks, and everything to open on the same page?
This would make it possible for tempNB to make that the behavior. It doesn't change any behavior.
Yes,
it just puts it in a variable that you can actually override rather than a constant in the middle of a function.
Okay, but I just want to understand that which target blanks does this change?
Links from the dashboard, so opening a notebook.
Okay. And new terminals, the new actions.
Actually, I don't think it affects new. Does it affect? Because the way new works with the window.open, I don't think that's actually effective.
It's not a underscore target.
Mm.
It's not a target attribute on a link. JavaScript creating a window.
Yeah.
But and then it affects links clicked in the notebook. So if you click, if there's a URL in a markdown cell, it affects that.
So that gets handled in JavaScript.
Well, you mean a link to an external resource?
A link to anything. So a link to another notebook, a link to a website.
Yeah, I think removing target blank only makes sense when we're linking to things within the tempNB website. I think all external links probably should be as they are now. That's one of the glorious things about Gmail is that you know that as long as you're clicking within Gmail, you're going to navigate. But the second you click on something external, you're not going to lose your Gmail window. And on tempNB, where things are transient, you definitely don't want to take people off TempNB without them sort of explicitly doing that.
Yeah, so just changing the target isn't enough to allow you to change. Changing the target constant doesn't allow you to change the general behavior.
Yeah. I mean, is that what you're after, Kyle? Basically, to let people browse through TempNB on a single tab.
Yeah, because it's in an iframe, it's really problematic to open. Like certainly anything local, it shouldn't. Like anything within TempNB needs to stay in the iframe.
Yeah. So for try.jupyter.org, you always jump out. There's no staying in that iframe unless you're only hanging out in the dashboard. And then you can never come back to that original dashboard tab because of our link to the dashboard within the notebook itself brings you back to the dashboard, but does not bring you back to your old tab that you had open for the dashboard.
Yeah, see, this makes me think that the iframe idea is going to cause more problems than it solves.
I personally think the notebook should be a one-page app, but that's an opinion that I've just held inside and never voiced within the project.
Well, I mean that's just
that's a stylistic choice for me. That's what I personally feel.
Well, we'll have Mint implement that this afternoon before he releases the beta.
I mean this is the main thing that enforces linking to, because I don't know, it depends how common you say links between notebooks are. But for the most part, internal links are, well, I guess the new notebook stuff. That's the harder one, I think, because of navigation stuff.
So with this current PR, we're still missing the new notebook stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if we get rid of iframes, does not all this just go away?
Well, you still get the it opens up in multiple tabs, which some find undesirable.
But it's not like
it also means it means that which isn't necessarily a big deal, but the main result of this, or the main thing that the iframes solve, is that try.jupyter is actually a thing. Because if it isn't, then nobody spends more than a tiny fraction of a second on that URL. Everybody's actually on try IAD001, which domain, like the actual domain, can go away. So not just are the paths transient, where if you visit a path that's gone away, you get a message and then you get to a new container. The actual domain can go away and you'll get like a browser, the internet's not working error.
Yeah, and that's because like they're transient in the sense that that's the only way for us to scale.
Yes. No.
You could never create one box that could hold all.
That's the problem that the iframes solve, is that the domain itself is transient. So keeping
the domain where the servers are running is transient.
Yeah, and so putting it in an iframe lets the domain that people see and bookmark and whatnot.
It's stable.
It's stable.
Well, but I don't know. I feel a tension between our desire to communicate to people that these are transient and the idea of completely hiding, right? Because with the iframes, all the user ever sees is try.jupyter.org/, right? They never see the URLs of them navigating the notebook.
I think with
which I think makes it clearer that it's transient, because it's the same for everyone.
You know, and I agree, it does that, but at the same time, I sort of feel like it's breaking the expectations of the internet that URLs are things. And
I mean, since they're transient, it's breaking the expectations of the internet, even if we don't hide the URL, because
an example would be I go to TempNB, I create a notebook, I call up Fernando and say, hey, have a look. I send it to him, he looks at it, and it goes away after 10 minutes. Like, we're breaking that. And I didn't see why. I mean, it's still transient, and I don't know. And again, I feel tension here. I can argue the other.
I'm okay with the Snapchat aspect of TempNB that you could just share it. I think the issue is just that we don't have something stable to share with people.
Wait, that's it. That's our new byline. Snapchat for
science.
They said it was the Snapchat for data science, and I was like, oh, I guess it is.
we worked out yesterday evening that every social networking service can now be described as yo with something.
Yes.
Yo Jupiter. Jupiter.io. It's Yo Jupiter.
Yeah. And so I do think, I mean, that there's precedence for this idea of transience, but with sharing. And I'm worried that we're going too far in the direction of zero sharing, all transients.
I think to actually do that ideal, Brian, where we can actually let people share a notebook and where we could actually persist it, and I think will be a good thing to be able to do, will actually be some amount of redesign, not unlike the TempNB part. Like, to me, TempNB would be just what you use to launch a kernel, because all you really care about there is execution. And that at the front, you're saying, I want to make a notebook. I'm gonna change the notebook. I've grabbed a notebook from somewhere else, but then give me execution somewhere. And so it calls that to an API, which provides you some ephemeral whatever for execution.
Yeah.
But then the notebook path can stick. It can stay in one place.
No, and I agree that eventually we probably want something like that. I think that in the meantime, though, this sort of intermediate zone of shareability is still very useful. Like, it really, like, I know people would use it instantly.
I've done it, and I keep hating that I'm like, oh, I need this in a gist now. I keep it so I can share it with people. This is so annoying.
And I agree with that. I totally, I mean, I absolutely agree. And this issue of how links are handled, and there's another context where notebooks could be embedded in iframes that is also experiencing these subtleties right now as well.
Sorry. I guess I was expecting you to say more there.
Well, that's all I can say.
Okay. Yeah. So do we want to make the target? John made a comment in the chat that the target, you can actually set the target for window.open calls, so we might be able to just set it for everything.
Yeah, I don't think that works quite the way you're thinking. I don't think you can set, like, target equals this page, because window.open is, like, create a new window.
Okay.
But, you know, it's simple enough if we want to do that to have a branch in the JavaScript that will just do, like, window.location rather than window.open.
I think you might have to do async equals false to do that, but
I mean, you just do it when the it might be tricky
because you don't know the URL until you get the reply.
And you can't set window location unless you're responding to
a click event. Yeah. Alright.
I just tested it works. You just have to set the window name to _self.
Okay.
So
it
does work.
Does it work across browsers?
I don't know about that.
So we can investigate this. I think it would be fine to, especially if we can do it in window.open, whether it's what we do for TempNB or whatever.
That's a separate thing.
I think making the like default link target something that you can change,
yes.
Especially if the window.open one can just take the same value.
Yes, I agree.
Then we can finish that PR and do it.
Okay, so maybe on TempMB,
Yeah.
maybe let's see. So try.jupyter.org and an iframe. I'm going to leave tempmb.org as it is and allow that to carry out as an experiment where people can share the links themselves, but that the try site is just here's the notebook, and like they go to a particular page for that.
Sure.
Yay, nay? So Min says yay.
I say yay. Yay, Kyle.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else you wanted to cover? There are a few UI-related things. Select multiple widget looks like it's ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
So, Min, do you have tomorrow for beta in mind?
I think so.
Great.
We have some aesthetic things open, a few like API cleanup things, but my plan is to be working on what's new docs and stuff today and tomorrow, and then cut a beta, and probably cut 2.4 final also tomorrow.
Okay, good. Is anyone else seeing the problem of terminals requiring a first carriage return?
That is a
on
Terminator bug, and it is open. It's an open issue on Terminator, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the issue is, like, because a terminal in the back end you can have multiple windows open to it in the front end.
Yep.
So it doesn't wait for a client to be connected before it starts reading data from the terminal. The issue is that the first prompt gets read and broadcast before there's anything listening to it. It's a race condition. So yeah, I'm planning just to have like a short buffer of stuff that's been read recently, so that when a client connects, it just gets that buffer played to it.
Is there a way we could just tickle it to kind of force a buffer sync? Right, because that information is still available. Right, can't you get that? Wait, is that first prompt actually lost?
I think it's.
No, it's not lost. If you
hit enter, you see the first prompt, right?
Yeah,
and the second.
I think like the terminal emulator is redrawing that prompt after you hit enter for some reason. I'm not entirely sure of the details, but I think it's actually. I think the prompt is being erased and redrawn effectively.
Okay.
At least that's my guess.
So,
is there any like force of redraw? Ask for a redraw.
No, that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, Fernando, originally I wasn't seeing that, but I do see that this issue now.
Since it's a race condition, I think it depends on how long it takes the terminal to start and draw the first prompt versus how long it takes the page to load.
And now the other thing
if you have a really slow bash RC, you'll always get the prompt.
Yeah, we should just like put sleep 1 in all our bash RCs, and it'll be fine.
Right.
The true solution to all race conditions is to sleep 1.
Sleep 1.
Exactly.
Now I am, and I know we tried to reproduce this in my office and didn't see it, but I'm seeing it now here on Chrome on Linux. I'm seeing again the fact that the terminal is impossible to use because hitting the spacebar scrolls the page instead of.
Can you do that in an incognito tab?
Okay, browser refresh.
Actually, let me I saw this problem yesterday as well.
Incognito tab. Okay, it's gone. It's gone in an incognito tab, but it's there in my main tab. Even I wonder if it's a freaking extension or something.
Yeah, that's why I said incognito.
Oh, I have this weird smooth scroller thing that I don't know where it
probably
is.
hijack spacebar.
Oh.
Not our fault.
Browsers.
Aha.
So, okay, now
Okay, that was the stupid thing causing it. It was an extension called Chromium. I don't even know. Probably installed it years ago, and I didn't even remember it. And I have several Chrome profiles, and I probably only have it in one of them. So when when you came to my office, we probably tried a different profile.
Yeah.
So yes, that was a Chrome extension, a Chrome scrolling extension. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Brian, is it possible that in your case it was also some bizarre extension doing the job, causing the problem? Because now without that extension, I'm fine.
Yeah, no, I'm fine in the scrolling issue.
Okay.
So I was thinking a little bit more about new workflows that the terminal and text editor enable.
Yeah.
And in particular, I'm starting, and some of this, Fernando and I were talking yesterday about deployments of Jupyter Hub on supercomputer head nodes. One, I mean, we're going to end up doing that here at Cal Poly. And all of a sudden, the notebook, even if, like, forget about running Python code, the terminal and the text editor actually become a rather nice user interface for a cluster.
Oh yeah, and I think there's plenty of people with servers, a terminal and a text editor and the file manager that we kind of ended up building as well is kind of like the fundamental interface to any computer.
So the project is officially being renamed JDE, the Jupyter Desktop Environment.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome to the
JOS, come on.
Welcome to the 90s.
But in that workflow, you would open up a terminal, and I think the missing piece when I think about that workflow is the ability to open files from the terminal. Right? I want to be in the terminal and I'd be in a directory and see a notebook and type something space notebook and have a tab pop up that has that notebook.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get that.
Well, but
Not the 3.0. Yeah, that's complicated.
no, but it's
You're not going to get that today, that's for sure.
Yeah, and not 3.x.
is it possible?
If it's a local deployment, no.
Yeah, if it's a remote deployment.
If it's a remote deployment, you really have to be able to, in your terminal editor, have a terminal editor that is to terminal, or take term.js and make it the terminal version of what the notebook is. You need to have a terminal editor that lets shellcode that you run execute arbitrary JavaScript in the front end.
Yeah, so we need...
Because that's the only reasonable way to open a notebook from the terminal.
We can...
MIME bundle for the terminal.
It's not impossible that we could send, actually, PyXterm, before I kind of mashed it into Terminado, did have a kind of message that the back end could send that was just like, here, execute this JavaScript code. And I kind of went, no, we're taking that one out. But it's perfectly possible, but I don't think it would be able to open a new window because of the browser's, or a new tab because of the browser's security restrictions. It might be able to pop up a dialog in the page that you then click a button and it opens a new tab or something.
Yeah, it could make a dialog that it could make a clickable link.
Okay.
I mean, you can make a. So does it make render HTML URL
In the terminal?
Well, so if we control the
some terminal editors like the Mac terminal make turn URLs and terminal output into clickable links.
Yeah.
So if they did that, you could just have something that does echo your link to notebook or link to file. But yeah,
automatically opening is really hard because of browser security restrictions, unfortunately.
Okay, but it's something to think about then. I was hoping that it was easy, but I forgot about it.
We could throw away the dashboard entirely and just launch people into the terminal.
I think you could create a terrible hack that does it, and spits out codes that you're looking for. Like beyond the link out, that you're looking for a specific format, and then we watch for that and then open the editor.
The tricky bit is triggering any JavaScript like window opening or navigation.
Have to be the result of a key press or click event.
Yeah. Yeah, but the key press event would be
no, because it's coming.
Typed anything.
The output is coming back asynchronously.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're being mean, you could, if you can do it on key press events, you could kind of like have a queue in the JavaScript. So it would say like, prepare to open this, and then the next time you hit a key, it does it.
Yeah. All right, there you go.
Yeah, terrible things we could do. Yes.
Yes.
There's something wrong with you people.
Yeah, it's one of those things
Press
that's logically
continue.
very simple and straightforward, but technically quite complicated. And it's just a question of, do we want to be, in addition to maintaining a file manager, a text editor, a notebook, document system, do we want to be maintaining a terminal editor that is our own terminal emulator that is significantly more than a terminal emulator?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to add things because, like, Term.js just provides the terminal widget, and we hook it up to the WebSocket ourselves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the code that's listening to the WebSocket could quite easily listen for other messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And part of it, as I was thinking about, and actually I was thinking about people using Git on remote systems.
Uh-huh.
And it would be nice to be able to set the editor environment variable to point to the notebook, so that when you do the Git commit, you can open up an actual real text editor. And then the other...
So you can't actually we would need to add hooks for waiting, right, to use the Git editor. You need to have a hook. You need to make a process that won't exit until editing is done.
Okay, that's way
and there are lots of hooks that we're missing in order to add.
Yeah, you're right.
That one gets thought.
Edit with wait. It's a moderate number of small things that we actually can add. It's just.
But I want
The solution here is that in addition to the terminal and the text editor and the file manager, we should also build a Git GUI into the.
Well, you've already done part of that, right? Haven't you, with your phosphor plane?
Yeah, that's true actually.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Yeah. Okay, I also wanted to just pass on. I gave a talk yesterday here at Cal Poly, and it was honestly the first time I'd shown the current state of the notebook with terminal, the text editor, the recent UI changes we've made, and there was some people who had never seen the notebook and other people who've used it extensively, and basically everyone's jaw just hit the floor, heads exploded, like they could not believe what we've done. And I just wanted to say, like, fantastic job. I mean, you guys have done just spectacular work. I mean, really, this is incredible.
It's really amazing.
I was speaking to Karthik yesterday evening, and he also said I tried out the new version on TryJupyter, and it does look really nice.
Yay!
Nice. Yeah, just great work.
Good job. Yeah, good job, guys. It's really amazing.
Good job, us.
Awesome.
All right.
Alrighty. Bye, Internet.
Bye, Internet.
Brian, enjoy your meeting, and I'll see you at noon.
All right. Bye-bye.